Hello there, Guardians. Hope you guys are doing great. Today we will be talking about Striker, which is the Arc Titan subclass. So I'm going to be covering the two supers, the abilities, the three aspects, and then I'll hit on some key exotics that work really well with Arc Titan. So to start off, we got the supers. So the first one we have is Fists of Havoc. So this is a roaming super, which means you're going to activate it and then run around while in the super around the battlefield. So you got two options here. You can light attack, which is a quick charge forward, or you can heavy attack, which is a slam. So I got the light attack, and then we got the heavy attack. This one on its own isn't that strong, but there is one exotic that works really well with it. So the next super we have is Thunder Crash. So this one, you basically turn into a missile, and you can hurl through the air and inflict a lot of damage. So you can literally fly. You're going to lose altitude eventually, but you can hit the area for a nice AoE. You can also hit bosses directly. This one, if you're using it for boss damage, is really good with an exotic that I'll explain at the end of the video. So moving on to abilities. So for your class ability, so you have the same two options here, Towering Barricade and Rally Barricade, but you also have an added option called Thruster. So this one is a short cooldown, and also it's very fast to use. So it's a quick little dodge, good for creating some movement, and also on any builds that require you to use your class ability. For your jumps, you got your standard jumps here, so high lift, strafe lift, and catapult lift. As always, I recommend high lift and catapult lift as your two main jump options. For melee, so you have three options here. The first one is ballistic slam. So you're gonna be sprinting, and then you're gonna jump up to become airborne, and then you can activate it. So I'm gonna sprint, jump up, and then I slam to the ground. Next up, we have seismic strike. So this one you're gonna be sprinting again, but you can do this on the ground. And then you're going to activate it, and then you're going to slam with your shoulder. And this also blinds targets in an area around them, and then the blind is increased if you are amplified. And as a reminder, anytime you see terms like amplified and blind, you can always read the descriptions if you highlight any move that has them, and that'll tell you what they do. So I'm going to sprint for a bit, make sure my melee is charged, and boom. So the last melee we have for Arc Titan is Thunderclap. So you plant your feet and you're going to charge this melee, and then when you release the button, it's going to activate. So this hits a lot of targets in front. It does a massive amount of damage. The downside being you can't move while you're doing it. So if you're in a safe spot and want to do a ton of damage, that's a good option. So next up we have grenades, and I recommend 4 grenades with Arc Titan, and the reason being that we combine them with this aspect. So this kind of goes in with the grenades. So your Touch of Thunder aspect is going to improve the functionality of your flashbang, pulse grenade, lightning grenade, and storm grenade. So these grenades are all very good to use while you're using this aspect. If you're not using this aspect, and you only have 3, so that means you would be using the other 2. But if you're not using Touch of Thunder, then I just recommend Flashbang for crowd control, or CC because it blinds targets, or Pulse Grenade. Pulse Grenade is going to be your general go-to if you're not sure what to use. Now moving on to the aspects, so we already touched on Touch of Thunder, which is just better grenades. So next one we have is Juggernaut. So with full class ability energy, and after sprinting for a short time, you gain a frontal shield that'll block incoming damage. And then when the frontal shield breaks, your class ability is depleted. And then while amplified, the shield blocks significantly more damage before breaking. So I'll show you that here. I'll sprint. And then the white-blue aura around me, that is a frontal shield. So it'll be improved and stronger if I'm amplified. But for right now, it'll block damage in front of me. The last aspect we have is Knockout. So it states critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your next melee attack with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. And then defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplified and restores a portion of your health. So if you're doing anything melee wise, then Knockout is definitely going to be the one for you. This probably pairs better with melees that are not Thunderclap, just so you can be on the move. All right, now to talk about some exotics. So first one we have is an Insurmountable Skull Fort, which is certainly an interesting name for an exotic. So this one's super simple. Kills with arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration and restore melee energy. So if you like meleeing stuff, this one's super simple, sweet and to the point, and this is good for that. Next up we have Eternal Warrior. So this states arc final blows grant an escalating damage bonus with arc weapons. Now anytime you see arc final blows, keep in mind that this is anything arc. So if you get a kill with an arc weapon, whether it's a heavy weapon or an energy weapon, if you get a kill with an arc grenade or an arc melee or an arc super, those are all arc final blows. And then if you do that, you get bonus damage with arc weapons. Additionally, you also gain an overshield when activating your Fist of Havoc, so that was the roaming super, and you gain the highest tier damage bonus to arc weapons when your Fist of Havoc super hits. So if you like using Fist of Havoc and killing things with arc, this is a good thing to use. Next up for arms, so these are exotic arms called Point Contact Cannon Brace. They definitely look super sweet. So this one is all about Thunderclap. So defeating targets with your Thunderclap melee restores melee energy, and then targets near you when you use your Thunderclap suffer lightning strikes and become jolted, and then being amplified increases the damage of these lightning strikes. So if you like using Thunderclap a lot and you want to use it even more, this is definitely a good one for that. Next up, we have the exotic chest piece, Curious of the Falling Start. So this one just makes your Thunder Crash 5 times better. So it's going to greatly increase the damage, and then you also get an overshield that lasts the longer the further you travel before striking a target. So if you're ever interested in using Thunder Crash as your main form of boss damage, this is definitely going to be the one to check out. And then lastly, we have Peregrine Greaves. So this one, if you remember my Void Titan video, this worked with that, and it'll also work with this as well. So on Arc Titan, you have Seismic Strike as your melee ability. So that ability will deal bonus damage when activated in the air. So that means you're going to sprint for a bit, get it charged up, and then jump, and then use your melee. Damaging mini bosses, tormentors, or champions with your shoulder charge refunds your melee. So this one's super good for damaging champions in legend content or above. If you're ever doing any content with champions, this is a good one to have. All right, and to summarize, so we talked about our 2 supers, talked about some abilities, talked about our 3 aspects, and we hit on some exotics that synergize nice with Arc Titan. Arc Titan is definitely really fun. It's not very strong these days. It's gotten power crept a lot, but for low end content, if you're just starting out, you can have a lot of fun with Arc Titan. If there's anything that you want to see, or if there's any questions that you guys have, just comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you so much. See you later.